Democrats, you wonder why the heartland doesn't think that you have their best interest at heart, because a nutless monkey would be more effective at putting America first. I think this actually has already cinched the deal. Let me kind of make some points as to why, and you guys can let me know where you think I'm wrong. Yeah. You can let me know, as you very often do. The media's been trying to claim that he's been terrible at his job, okay? But Donald Trump's overall approval rating, and by the way, this is where polls matter, not like when Bernie Sanders says, look at Venezuela, they prefer their health care. So they do in Cuba,
it's a different deal.
But they die. So this is where polls matter, because Donald Trump, amidst a crisis, and this is kind of important because you see this quite a bit historically, it's a good indicator, 60% of Americans actually approve of his response to coronavirus. His recent approval rating with Gallup risen from 44 to 49%.
Yep.
Wow.
Right. Who do Americans rate the worst right now, by the way? The fake lying news media. That's what they rate as the worst aspect of American culture. Second worst is late night hosts broadcasting from their bathroom without a lavalier mic. That's up there. I don't know.
Not expensive.
We get it.
I hate it.
We get it. It's raw. It's organic. Samantha Bee and Jimmy Kimmel. But can't you just take a portion of the $12 million salary and just get a rogue mic?
You were wearing a suit in a bathtub, so do that.
It's unreal to me.
Something.
This is also, by the way, why they want to lean on YouTube. Right, Vox, NBC, Universal, they realize they can't compete when they start putting this content. No one wants to watch Seth Meyers in his hallway. Right?
Not more than once at the very least.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. Here's a point. Okay, so travel bans. To answer your question, Stu, I don't know that President Trump has done a whole lot differently than any other president would. I think there's a limited amount of control that you have. The CDC doesn't really have anything necessarily to do with Trump. They sort of operate independently. And we didn't have the right information from China. The World Health Organization did not declare it a crisis or a pandemic until March 12th. So to be clear, I know everyone's trying to score political points. I can't say that Donald Trump has done everything right or differently than another president. But Johnny Boy, who had the horrible idea of the Schindler's List parody, had a very good point here. I do know one thing that President Trump has specifically done differently than all other leaders, and that's his travel ban from China.
It was big.
Donald Trump banned it early. They didn't do that elsewhere they didn't do it with the same vigor, you should say. And we can compare that directly with his competitor in a general election, Joe Dementia Biden, who claimed that the travel ban was xenophobic. So this is remarkable to me. Even if everything else from President Trump were terrible, it was absolutely, let's say he handled everything as poorly as can be, he's still not as bad as Joe Biden. It is a miracle. They put up someone in the general. If I'm Donald Trump and I go into this general election, there's a debate with Joe Biden, right? And he says, oh, it wasn't enough of a response. I just coach Donald Trump, say, all right, let it fly. Well, listen, I put the ban on travel from China. You said it was racist. So when would you have put travel restrictions on China, Joe? And he won't be able to answer, probably crap himself, and forget where he is for a little bit.
Can you imagine? He's back-to-back competitors so far are going to be Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, like the two weakest people to put up against anyone.
Yeah, well, especially, though, on the coronavirus. In other words, he has no leg to stand on what will be the hot-button issue here.
Absolutely.
If it were just some random recession or something that happened, they could try and attribute it to policy, right?
Right,
But with this, it's clear as day. Donald Trump did something proactive. You accuse him of racism. And by the way, Biden was just following lockstep with the media. They claimed that it was nonsensical, an emotional reaction. This is from Vox, New York Times. They also said that we shouldn't really worry about the coronavirus, that it was less than the flu. But now they try to act like that's just a right-wing talking point.
We got it from you.
Wasn't it one of Italy's virologists? He said when responding to the outbreak that the fear of the political fallout from enacting a travel ban made the pandemic much worse in Italy. This is what he said. Now, the American media was saying, no, don't listen to that guy who works in Italian government. It has nothing to do with open borders. We are at a point where political correctness could quite literally be killing people. LGBTQAI and people died. That's the point here. Hands up, don't shoot. This is an actual thing. You don't ban travel from China where the virus originates, people will die.
And you go back to our definition of political correctness is different than the original, right? The original is from Marxist states where, and this is very specific, where the Chinese government, they decided the politically correct thing for doctors to do is deny that there was a virus. So this is legitimately, this entire thing is actually an extension of political correctness.
Right. And it's dangerous. It's not without consequences. People think I'm being nice because I'm not offending people. There's been obviously a multifaceted approach from President Donald Trump, but this is one thing that you can say is singularly unique in comparison to whether it's Biden or Bernie, but it seems like the candidate will obviously be Biden unless, they don't have enough smelling salts. But the point is, I think that's a stark contrast. And by the way, can we just say, Joe Biden is really unwell. He is not doing well at all. This week,
really
he had a series of disastrous media appearances. First, I think we have this one with a failed teleprompter on a live stream. Watch, it's sad.
Beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to.
And boom goes
sure
the dynamite.
We are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing.
It's sad.
The president must use the Defense Production Act.
Yeah, there is no second thing.
Sir.
Let me go to the second thing. Joe, what's the second thing? Third thing. Three things. There are three more than one or two.
The other one.
Why'd I stop?
I like the hand motion there. It looks like he's checking someone for testicular cancer.
And cough?
Very roughly.
Cough. What? Huh? What'd he say? Huh? What? I'm fine.
What kind of a piece of shit do you have to be to keep putting him out there in that condition?
I know. It's really.
Seriously. I'm asking seriously. It's not a punchline.
No, someone needs to, you just need to have someone waving it off. Like, stop, enough.
Yeah.
Wave off the fight.
His family needs to be there with a towel and throw the towel.
Yeah.
It's over for Joe.
And it's very fitting because Putin will kill him.
That's true.
Putin will break him.
Yeah.
The symbolism is everywhere.
Yeah.
They won't do the fist bump, though, because 6 feet. We understand that. So he then went on The View, and the responses, they were not at all coherent.
In Hot Topics, we talked about Trump saying the government would reassess the recommended period for keeping businesses shut and people at home. Are you at all concerned, as Trump said, that we cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself?
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
We have to take care of the cure. No, and this, I don't want to be that guy that got you. In his defense, he didn't misspeak.
On Thursday, doesn't even start, it's Friday, I'm in love.
See, I get it all confused. I thought he was taking care of the Smiths.
Yeah. Right. They're almost interchangeable.
Perhaps Joy Division. Just very sad. Full month of it coming your way. It really is. Anyway, I agree with you. They need to throw in the towel. So let's get back to coronavirus, because that's what we care about right now. The Democrats obviously have been blocking, the relief bill. We've been talking about this stimulus bill. They blocked the bill from the GOP
so frustrating.
Early on with, I think, was it 1,400 pages? This bill, do we know how many pages in it? It keeps changing by the day.
They came with
You have to pass it.
Yeah.
And then you can
Before you can read it.
Well,
Yeah, that's
their
true.
counter,
Again.
I think, had 1,400 pages, and it contained all sorts of ridiculous crap that had nothing to do with the coronavirus.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've
nothing
heard of
at
this.
all.
If you haven't, there's $35 million in funding for the JFK Performing Arts Center, $90 million for an HIV program, $300 million for migration and refugee assistance, Green New Deals, these style requirements for carbon emissions. Listen, over 3.2 million Americans just filed for unemployment, okay?
Yeah.
And the Democrats are demanding $300 million for illegal immigrants and refugees?
Yeah.
And the Democrats, you wonder why the heartland doesn't think that you have their best interest at heart? Because a nutless monkey would be more effective at putting America first. I trust Joe Biden's teleprompter more than I trust the DNC looking out for the United States right now. There are a lot of things that I trust more than the DNC, namely all of them.
Yes.
Here's another thing. This was a big deal, and it may seem inconsequential. But I think, to go back to your point, I think this is why Americans think that Donald Trump is doing a better job handling this. And if it were just in a vacuum, Donald Trump, we approve or rallying around the leader, that wouldn't explain the distrust of the media. Yeah. That tells me there's a conflict. That tells me that to most Americans, including Democrats, there's kind of a hero and a villain here. Yeah. And a big part of that was, of course, if you haven't been following, I don't know, you have the Chinese virus controversy.
We continue our relentless effort to defeat the Chinese virus.
Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's
China.
racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China. I want to be accurate. As you know, China tried to say at one point, maybe they stopped now, that it was caused by American soldiers. That can't happen. It's not going to happen. Not as long as I'm president. It comes from China. Seeing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus.
I love the pause in China.
China. C-H-I-N-A.
China.
China.
If you're going to fix a problem, you need to speak truth.
Yes.
You need to. You
Right,
can't be
yeah.
obfuscated behind this political correctness, and you have to speak truth in what it is. It came from China. That's where it originated.
Yes, it matters. Why is Trump saying Chinese virus valuable? It's not just because it offends all the right people, but for the same reason that instituting a travel ban from China was valuable. For the same reason that Trump's brass pendulous sack in comparisons to Biden's shriveled, demented raisinets is valuable. Trump, he's not allowing political correctness to dictate policy best for Americans. Also, I'll tell you why Chinese virus is important. And you see this a lot with all of these, and you see it even in the Christian community, in the left community, the virtue signaling community, like we should be nice. No. You know why Chinese virus is important? Because a communist regime who tried to blame this virus on our American troops doesn't get to rewrite history. By the way, sign up for Mug Club this month. The promo code is quarantine. We're giving away everything plus 3 morning shows. $69. You get $30 off. Hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube and you are not subscribed yet, because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot.
Not at all.
And also Crowder Bits, subscribe. And hey, look, Stu's drinking from his mug. Quick, go to him. See, he can't talk.
He turned it around.
That's embarrassing. To go back to the point of the media, this is something that's really important to me. I don't know how more clearly we could see the media overreach right now. When they start blaming Donald Trump for people eating koi pond cleaner. When I saw the story, I was like, no, they're not going to jump on this.
Yeah, no.
There's no way that they lack the self-awareness to blame Donald Trump for simpletons, for mongoloids drinking koi pond cleaner. And then they do.
Yeah.
Let me just give you a rapid fire recap as to all of the dishonesties here. So, something you probably heard: Trump disbanded the pandemic unit there at the CD. Was it CDC or the White House?
NHS.
I don't know. They didn't say NHS. Yeah. Actually, he just condensed it with other units so that the expertise could be pooled. It was actually a decision to make government more effective and efficient, not
How dare
less.
he?
They tried to say that Trump cut CDC funding, reducing the outreach from 49 countries to 10, including cutting their work in China. The truth is, it wasn't a direct cut. It was a depletion of previously allocated funds, and the CDC got that money from elsewhere, so it's a wash. Who cares? And the media tried to say that Trump, of course, called the coronavirus a hoax. No, what he said was that Democrats pinning the blame on his administration was a hoax. And, of course, don't forget the fish tank cleaner, but we all understand that one. That one's really stupid. It's fun to address, but I don't want to go over it. Here's the deal. After years of the anti-Trump, the Russian collusion, the UK's quid pro quo, the general public, how can they trust the media at all? If you've never heard them say one good thing about President Trump, and now they're saying that he's handling the outbreak poorly, when in fact it was the New York Times, the media, who downplayed it. We just, well, but hold on, but you said there were prostitutes peeing on the Formica. Everything that you've said is incorrect. Why would they trust you now?
Right.
What do you think? Do you still think it's rallying behind Trump?
I do think that. Well, I think this is a good case here. I mean, and you see this occasionally from media members when they actually will acknowledge something. The Daily, that New York Times podcast, which is basically 30 minutes of them destroying Trump every day in their minds.
No, I don't listen to it.
Yeah,
not with my compromised immune system.
That's true. Be safe. Be safe.
I'm susceptible to ear aids.
They had Maggie Haberman on, who was kind of flipped and flopped.
Jake Gyllenhaal's ugly sister?
Yes, exactly. And
every time she shows up on the big screen, I make an audible.
I think that's everybody.
Sorry, I interrupted.
So she admitted, you know what? Early on in this situation, Trump banned flights from China. He was called racist. He was called xenophobic. Yeah. And it turned out that it was a good move. And it was a big move at the time. Yeah. Now, they wrap that in 30 minutes of criticism. But at least if they will acknowledge basic truths, it'll at least give us a chance to understand and listen to the criticism. Right. They're so unwilling because they're so obsessed with this guy that they normally won't even give him a point to his favor no matter what happens. Right. Yeah. I think it's a real problem. And by the way, this is something, too, they complained about the Republican bill. We've heard about this go back and forth all week. We'll talk about it more next week. Like the morning show, we'll be watching CNN and live fact-checking. So it'll be a little different guests. It'll be more like a podcast, radio show, less late nighty, I guess. So we'll be able to talk more in depth about the bill. But initially, the left's complained that the Republican bill would allow hospitals, this was a big thing, that they would allow elective procedures to be put on hold to make room for corona patients. That included abortions, right? So here's the deal. Both sides have accused the other side of playing politics with this bill. You're trying to fit this in, and you're trying to earmark this. And okay, all right. And let's assume that is true, because it is true. Both sides are trying to play a little bit of political football right now. They're trying to shoehorn their crap in. All right, let's assume all of that is true. What would be more relevant to a bill exclusively designed to curb the coronavirus and hopefully its economic ripple effect and devastation, helping hospitals alleviate their workload by holding all non-essential procedures like abortions, putting them
it on hold, or as the Democrats tried to shove into their bill, diversity quotas for corporate boards. Getting hospitals masks, respirators, or making sure that there's a Nubian on retainer as an advisor at Dell. This is something that's really important too. Some people are trying to make this case for socialism. I think if you actually observe this objectively, you have to take this as a case against centralized government, because the private sector has stepped up and tried to fix a quagmire that was created by government, regardless of who's in office. But it also shows us that, you know what? There is a finite amount of resources with government. It's ironic to me that the left, they think, well, this person has more, and so I want to take it. They don't understand that capitalism, free enterprise, is not a zero-sum game. No. It's not just a piece of the pie. You can bake more pies. You know what is a fixed pie? Government. There's only so much money they can take, especially if everybody is unemployed for indefinitely, right? There's a limited amount of resources. So let's take into account the idea that the government, they've had this Russia hoax investigation going on. How many tens of millions, when you add that up, and hundreds of millions, I don't know, billions, don't have the numbers in front of me, the impeachment sham going on. And the CDC, how about this CDC? Instead of researching gender pronouns and gun control statistics, you do your job. That way, people won't take a steaming crap on you as an emblem of systematic corruption and bureaucracy in government, looking to the private sector for help. There's a fixed amount of resources in the government. Seems like maybe we should be a little more prudent in where we use our resources so that we're not caught flat-footed with our pants down again. You know what's in here? It's just water. That's why they call it acting. It actually smells garlicky. There's something wrong with the water. I think it's going through the ice maker, and we don't have the baking soda in the fridge. If you like this video, subscribe, hit notifications, or just check back every single day, because we upload a new video every single day. And this was actually taken from the full show, a full hour show that we upload every single Thursday. Click that right now. Go watch the entire show. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you stop by, just don't bother me. I'm going to enjoy my garlic water.